Hi, and welcome this evening. It's so great to be here, folks. Um, I've been really excited about bringing this very first webisode video diary to you. It's been quite a process and quite exciting, like I said, and just all the things that basically have led up to where I am now. This is what I will be doing on a weekly basis for the next 2 months or maybe even longer. I don't even know yet how long it'll last. But I want to thank everybody for coming first and foremost, and thank you for subscribing to my YouTube page. I really, really appreciate it. Um, just to get started, my name is Shellie Palmer. I am a local Hartville, Ohio published author. Decided to actually self-publish rather than going through a publisher. And a lot of people are really skeptical about that, about self-publishing their own material. But I believe that it was a godsend for me because I did look for publishers. I did do the search and set my manuscript out to about a dozen publishers actually when I first started. But uh, just, I have to start looking at things as a whole more nowadays than I used to. I used to keep myself very closed in, and that will also be part of tonight's uh, web series in this first video. When I first started out writing, I was actually 15. Uh, I would journal a lot and, kept a diary. And I think a lot of young girls, when they're, at that age, start writing and start experiencing a lot more in their life than they would at the age of 10 or 8. To me, writing was a very therapeutic feeling, and I was able to really express myself more when it came to writing than it did in anything else that I did. And it's just something that I really gravitated towards. I wasn't the greatest writer when I first started out, but I learned a lot because of, obviously being in junior high and taking all the English classes and courses that I did. But I think what really struck it up was the creative writing class I took my freshman year, and that was a really great experience for me because it was the first time that I was able to like get outside my little bubble. And basically, you see me as a normal person. Well, I never did. I never saw myself as a normal human being because of the learning disability that I have. And I will always have it. I will always carry it around me. My family knows that very well, that I am learning disabled. But a lot of my, friends who I've met over the past, I'd say 4 or 5 years, didn't really know that I had a learning disability unless I actually told them. I don't, I usually don't tell people right off the bat that I have a learning disability, but it kind of made sense to me now to talk about it more because, I am different. I've learned to accept who I am as a person, as an individual. And I think a lot of that comes across in my writing too, because when I'm feeling something, the best way for me is to write it out, like I said. And it just kind of made sense to me, growing up as a teenager with a learning disability, having a hard time accepting myself as a lot of young girls do. And I think that's why I talk to a lot of you on Twitter or Facebook, because I feel like a connection there. I feel like I'm a big sister, and I can talk to you and tell you things are gonna be okay and you're gonna get through it because I got through it. It's just a natural progression that we all go through as going from a young girl to a teenager and into adulthood. And it's very possible that you're going to say, "Oh yeah, she knows what I'm going through because I go through that too." We all have this journey, and I'm going to say journey a lot because it is a journey. I'm going through it, you're going through it with me, I'm going through it with you. And it's just something that I feel that is important, that we all need to like come together and unite and help each other, and instead of competing against each other. I see that so much more nowadays. But back to what I was saying is that, you know, young girls in particular have a really hard time adjusting and accepting themselves for who they are. And like I said, with my disability in high school was very hard. I didn't have a lot of friends, and the friends that I did have were all other in my group in special education. So, when I did take the creative writing course and actually able to get out of that little bubble, I felt more like myself. I felt more normal and human. I didn't feel like I was, quote unquote, disabled. And that just made made things so much easier for me. And after taking that creative writing course, I started to find out that I actually loved writing. I didn't like to read a lot, but the writing process was so much more than the reading process to me. And a lot of people will say, "Well, you don't like to read." Most writers love reading. Yeah, I do like to read now more than I ever did in my life. It's just, who I am as a person, and it comes off that way. So I y- it's just there's so many things that I could say and do and just come off as being who I am and being able to relate to somebody on the other end, or you're talking to me or I'm talking to you, or either way, we're going to get through it together. And I might be going back and forth a lot in conversation, but that's just who I am too. So I can be very sporadic, very unpredictable. At times, I could be very outgoing, or I could be very reserved. Um, and I say a lot. I really am just here to be candid with you and to let you know that you're not alone. I'm not alone. We're all going through things in our lives. How can we make it better? And how can we have our peace? Because we all need peace in our journey. We all need peace in the world, basically. But that is part of my beginning of my story, is my learning disability, and connecting with you on that level, that I am normal. I'm always going to be normal, even though I am different. I know I'm different, but we're all different too, right? You're different. Obviously, we have different color hair, different eye color, different personalities. There's so many differences between all of us. And that is something that we'll come across. I talk to people all the time. I work in retail part time while I work on all my other projects that I do. And I stay busy, and I like to stay mentally busy, because if I don't, then I don't know what I would do. And I'd say that the biggest part of the challenge is to keep challenging yourself, and I keep challenging myself, and I want you to keep challenging yourself. We're all going to have things that are going to be like smooth sailing, and we're not going to have any worries and nothing. But at the end of the day, we're going to come together, and we're going to come together through this web series that I just started and created. And I'm glad that you're here, because then you'll get a better insight who I am and what I do, and then I'll get a better insight on what you do and who you are, because technically in the technology world of things, social media, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, you know, Tumblr, Google Plus, you know, we have all these social media outlets that we go to nowadays. And I see people talking, and I see people doing things, and that inspires me too. But I think when it comes to it, you know, as I said, it is the journey, and this is my journey, and I'm glad you're here, and I'm glad to be doing these videos. When I actually look back on the past 19 years, I could be very thankful to still be here. At one time in my life, I didn't think I was going to be. And I don't know if I'm going to talk about it tonight or in the next video, but um, I went through my struggles after high school, and a lot of things that I was put into the real world, as we all are put into the real world. And how do we deal with it? And how do we adjust with it? And how do we cope? And for me, after high school, life did change. Um, I was always a church going person. I always read the Bible. I always prayed. I did everything that a church person does. I do a lot of things for my community. I have done a lot, and I still do to this day. It's just something that is a part of me and who I am. And I don't always think about it. I just want to do it because I feel like I want to do it, not that I need to do it. Um, and it comes out to the fact that it's okay to ask for help. And I've always had this trouble of asking help from other people in my life. Um, it came off at the point where, okay, I'm in college. It wasn't the college of my choice. I was kind of thrust into it. You know, I was told, well, you need to do this so you can get a better education. Yeah, I did get some education out of it. The fact is, it wasn't for me. And I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and tell you not to go to school, because it's important that we get an education and get some formal training, but it's not for everybody. If you give it a try and you really work at it and see if you do like it, then yeah, continue with it. But I'll never sit here and lie to you and tell you not to go, because if I did, then that would just be wrong. And I want to see people succeed, and I want to see people do good in their lives, you know, whether it's, you know, at a really high paying job or a low paying job. It doesn't matter, because like I said, I work retail part-time, and I've done retail for most of my adult life at this point. So it's just that when it comes down to it, I had a really hard time in college. And during those times, I was very alone. I felt like I had no friends. Um, it felt like I was starting over, you know, like, how do I, almost like being a scared cat on a roller coaster. Can you imagine a cat in a roller coaster feeling so petrified and scared? That's how I felt when I was in college. I was at my lowest point. I had a job that I miserably hated, but knew I had to work because I had to make money and pay for the things that I needed. And I think I kind of went through this addiction with shopping. And I know a lot of women love to shop, but I did. I went through an addiction with shopping. And that was something that masked my pain a little bit because I was hurting physically and mentally when I was in college. I didn't know if I needed to be there or if I wanted to be. The emotions that I went through, not just physically, but mentally, just didn't seem right to me. And I kind of lost my way a lot because I stopped going to church. I stopped praying. I stopped doing all the things that I once did before. And when I went through one job, I actually met someone and we connected right off the bat. And that would be my best friend, Tiffany, who I've been best friends with for like almost 20 years now. And she and I are like two peas in a pod. And she and I know each other very well when it comes to, you know, living with a disability, because if she was here, she would tell you this story that she was in a car accident at the age of 3, and or was it 4? 3 or 4. And doctors never expected her to live. She's went through 6 head surgeries since the age of 4. And she's here today proving people that, hey, here I am. This is who I am. And you're going to, if you like me or not, I'm still going to do what I want to do. And she's very independent and very hard-headed like me. And we just, we click and we get along so well. And this was at a job that I did like, and I did have, you know, her by my side, and she her work ethic is so strong, and I always look to her for that, and she looks to me at that. And somewhere along the line, after I left that job and went on to the job that I was talking about that I couldn't stand at all, and I was there all the time, studying for courses and classes at school. It just came to the point where, like I said, I was not physically in my own body. I didn't feel like I was physically in my own body because I was doing things that I just felt like I didn't want to do or didn't need to do. And it came to the point where I, like I said, I had lost myself through this. And I went through all these emotions, physically, mentally, emotionally. Like I said, I didn't go to church. I stopped praying. I stopped doing all the things that I did before. And Tiffany didn't even know this. Tiffany didn't know any of that, that I was dealing with those feelings and those emotions. And I think the best part that came out of that was her friendship, because we hung out all the time. I didn't want to go to these places or do these things, but I always had her to go to and hang out with and just not worry about this stuff that was going on in my life. And I wasn't telling her that stuff, but I was having fun and I wanted to have fun. I didn't want to have the worry of studying all the time or the worry of work or whatever. And there were days where I actually did not want to get out of bed. Seriously, did not want to get out of bed. And I remember those days very, very well because I would not open my blinds. I wanted to sleep. I didn't want to do the things that, I didn't. And it kind of to the point where, okay, if I was out in public or I was at work or I was with Tiffany or I was doing this, I always had a face, a smile on my face to mask the emotional pain that I was going through. And I believe that's when a lot of my writing started to really come into play more, was when I was going through the pain and through the emotional turmoil that I was going through, or the personal effects that I was going through with school. And the writing just started in a simple journal book, like this book right here. This book is my quote book, and I put quotes in this. And that's where the writing came from. And I started writing poetry. And the poetry was basically all me, my expression, how I felt, or of a situation that I was going through with someone at the time. And it just kind of made sense to me that this is what I needed. And this was my escape, and this was my route to go in and do as the stuff that I was going through. And after a period of time, I actually did slip into a pretty deep depression. I have to admit that I was depressed. And I started skipping classes in school, not even going and doing my shopping. That was my little addiction period, where all I wanted to do was shop and just get away from the life of school, the life of work, the life of everything that was going on around me. So physically, mentally, emotionally, I was not the person that I was before. And through all of that time, I went through an injury. And that injury masked everything else that I was already going through. And that injury just really sunk me into the deepest depression that I could ever imagine in my life. I didn't know one day after the other if I wanted to live anymore, because I was in so much pain. And that injury kind of left me thinking, do I need to be here? What's my purpose in this world? And I was scared at times, but I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know why I was feeling the way I was feeling. And it really just knocked me down. It knocked me hard. And I just did not know where else to turn. So I went back to listening to music. Um, and at the time, the very popular I don't want to say boy band, but vocal group NSYNC, were getting their feet wet in the world of pop music. And thank God for those guys, because they got me through the late 90s and early 2000s with what I was going through, the pain, emotionally, physically, mentally. I was going through everything. They kind of steered me into the fact that here's this music. It was healing. It was fun. It was lifting me up again. But yet I still wasn't the same. I still wasn't the same person I was. And it really affected me in a way that, okay, what's wrong with me? Like I kept saying, what's wrong with me? I was blaming people. I was blaming all the wrong people around me. Um, I wasn't blaming myself. I was just blaming all the wrong people, and I was pointing a finger at God a lot, and I didn't know why. And I think a lot of it was because I was emotionally, mentally, and physically distressed. It came to the point where, okay, something's got to give, something's got to happen. Um, I didn't, and I kept going through this period where, okay, I'm not doing what I should be doing. What should I be doing with my life? It was a day that I will never forget. All the time that I was depressed, at my lowest point, God did come to me. And he said, you are not ready to leave this world yet. I put you on this earth for a reason and for a purpose, a sole purpose, and that is to lend your voice to others who are going through this. No matter the pain, the anguish, the hurt, or the betrayal that you're going through, you're going to get through it, and you're going to help someone else through this. He woke me up inside. It was an epiphany that I had that, oh my gosh, I woke up inside and I was free again. And it was like he came to me. He really did come to me. And people will think I'm crazy, because he really did. And people who have God sightings, with Jesus, it's miraculous and it's wonderful and it's a beautiful feeling because he really did put you here for a reason. And this is why I'm so, oh, what's the word am I looking for? So outspoken on the word of God, because he puts us here for a reason, and he's gonna get us through those trials and those triumphs and the struggles and the challenges that we all face and go through in life. You know, it could be a death in the family, it could be losing a parent or a spouse, and we're all going to get through this because we're here together. You know, I believe God brings people into my life for a reason, and he has. He has removed the negative into the positive sector. And like I say, I could be very preachy at times when it comes to talking about God. And it's very true. And I will talk about this quite often in these videos, because he got me through it. He got me through all of the anguish and the pain and the mental and physical, emotional pain I was going through. And when I had that, I went to church. I started going to church again. I started praying. I started reading the Bible. That is the most amazing feeling in the world, is to have that spiritual tie with Jesus and with God. And I also credit author Richard Paul Evans for that. This was at a time when my family went through a loss, and I did not know how to deal with it at the time. And what came out of it was Jesus placing his hand on me. I felt his hand on my shoulder, and he said, "You're going to be fine. I'm going to look over you, and I'm going to look over your family during this." And Richard Paul wrote this book merely just for his family, for his children, as a children's story. And I remember the show that he was on, and it was called It's a Miracle. And that show is no longer around, but I thank that show, and I thank Richard Paul Evans for coming into my life, because that book, The Christmas Box, helped me deal with the loss and the pain that we went through losing this baby in our life. And it was just a book I'll never forget. And sometimes I want to go back and read it again, but I'm in the middle of reading another book or in the middle of doing something and get sidetracked, because from time to time I get sidetracked and I lose my train of thought and get all, googly moogly, and just I'm just who I am as a person, I guess. That's just who I am. Sometimes we have to stop and realize, it's okay to ask for help when we need it. I remember during the time of my depression and my anxiety, because I used to have panic attacks, that I went to see a therapist. And for me, that's kind of hard to spill my guts, which I'm kind of doing tonight, actually. But at that time, I had a very hard time talking about stuff. And more so nowadays, I'm more free and open to talk about it than in the past. And it really has helped me in the long run too, because it helps with my writing. It helps with the people who I meet every day and really connect with people. It's just, the process is just amazing to me. And I say that word a lot. And it's true. I just want to be out there and talk to people and get to know their stories and be that voice on the other end, and really be there for them and give them that encouragement that they need in their life, because I was there and I went through all that. And I still go through through stuff. I'm not gonna lie. I go through stuff all the time. I have my crying spells sometimes, but um, they're either happy tears or they're um, tears of sadness or loss. But we're all going to go through that, and we're all going to face those challenges and those struggles. But I think, like I said, I thank God for him pulling me out of the darkness and bringing me back into the light of my life. And I credit Tiffany as well for that, because I didn't have friends. I didn't have a lot of friends in my life. And she was the one friend who I would count on all the time. And I still count on her. We make time for each other as much as we can nowadays, as we always did. And her family. And then I met Michelle, who I haven't seen in so long, and she and I would hang out and spend time together. And she knows a lot of what I go through, because she too goes through stuff. And her social phobia. We all have social phobias, and I will talk about that in the future, but not tonight. This is just basically the journey and the start of what happened, um, with my story, and getting it out there and letting you know that it's okay to let it down your guard, even though you have it built up so high. And sometimes I think I still do a little bit. It's kind of hard to really let too many people in your life, but the ones that who are in your life for lifelong, like Tiffany, those are the people you want to keep in your life for forever and ever, because they're gonna say, hey, your ego's getting out of whack, or you're just acting crazy or whatever. Come back down to earth a little bit. They're the ones that keep you in check. They're the ones that keep you humbled and grounded. And I'm blessed to have her in my life, and as much as Michelle, who I credit for encouraging me, because I was writing all this poetry, and I didn't know where I was going to take it and what I was going to do with it. I just never really thought of ever publishing my material. And they said, maybe you can try it, and I'm like, I knew nothing about getting a publishing deal, or finding someone in the publishing world. I knew nothing about it. I was very green. Um, I just knew I loved to write, and that's what I was doing. Um, I just didn't know where to go. And then when I found someone online, she said, have you thought about maybe putting up an ebook? And I thought, oh, that's an idea. And I played with it. And then the publishers, I found some publishers, and I sent a very rough manuscript out. I mean, this was not typed up, nothing like that. It was all rough and raw and authentically done with both hands of mine. And it didn't, like I said, I knew nothing about it. I was very green. So I just sent copies of what I was doing by hand. And I was actually rejected about 6, 7 times. There were a couple that I passed on because I didn't think they were right for me. So then a year later, I thought, you know what, maybe I'll try self-publishing. And that's when the ebook thing came up. And I thought, you know what, maybe it's worth a shot. We'll see. So, all the years, everything I've been through were piled into this one little journal book. And I thought, well, a title, what kind of title would I put to it? This is like a diary. This is all poetry. This is all me and the people that have come in and out of my life. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to name this the Poetry Diaries. It just seemed fitting. You know, it's a diary with all of this work, my expressions, how I felt, what I was doing, you know, the people who were inspiring in my life. And that's just how it came out. And now that I look back on that work, I'm adding new things to it. I had changed the cover to the original um, cover of the Poetry Diaries, which is the first book. And that really just kind of led me into writing a follow-up book to it and thinking, hey, I'm going to turn this into a series and see how it goes and see where it goes. I haven't, you know, I don't think about making a ton of money and being a best-selling author, although I have had thoughts of it. It would be nice, but my perspective on it is getting it out to people who need, you know, some closure in their life or are looking for answers. The answers that you have are already within you. It's actually looking to yourself a little more deeply and accepting who you are as a person and being the person that you truly are and not worry about what's going on. Don't worry about yourself or worry about others, even though you might worry about others. I have a tendency to do that. Um, and that's just who I am as a person. So the Poetry Diaries is what it is in the first book. It tells about love and loss and life and pain, mentally, physically, you know, spiritually. It's just a number of things in that book. And it's not the thickest book in the, you know, in the world. It's just a little book with poetry in it. And I've had some amazing feedback from that first book. I've had some decent sales from that first book. But I think at the end of the day, if I could touch one person's life, then I'm doing my job. And I told a cousin of mine that recently, this is what I'm supposed to do. This is where I'm at in my life. This is who I am. This is what I do. And this is it, you know? So what you see is the whole package. You know, I'm not the skinniest person, and I will test to that. I'm not the most beautiful person in the world, but I like to be pretty and I want to feel pretty. And I think this applies to all the women out there who are watching. It's okay not to wear makeup, and it's okay not to do your hair, and it's okay not to do all these things to fancy yourself for someone else. You know, the best impression is just being who you truly are. That is the best impression you're going to ever give someone. If you're nice to someone and you show them respect, then they're going to show that back. But if they don't, you still want to treat them with kindness. And I've learned over the years, this is a hard process to go through, but you have to learn and to be nice to those who treat you badly, because those are the ones who are really hurting and who need God and prayer in their life. Like I said, I'm going to mention a lot, and it's very true. I will tell you, and I'm going to tell you now, flat out, bluntly and honestly, God wants you on this earth. He has you here for a reason. You're here for a purpose. It's doing something about it and making something out of it. I can't emphasize that enough. I can't wait to come back next week and tell you more, because there's so much more involved with the first book. And I can't wait to tell you how these books are making an impact in someone's life. And I just, there's not enough time in a day to really tell you everything. But that's basically what is going on right now. And it will lead up to world events. You know, I'm not going to get into that right now, but this was just the first video of the web series. And I'm so happy that you were here tonight. If you have questions, want to talk, you know, I'm always a phone call away, or if you're a friend of mine who has my phone number, you can always call me. Or if you're someone who I have met before, and I know a few of you who I have met, and you're really nice people. God love you. But, and to my new followers and my fans, thank you so much. You are amazing people for taking a chance with me. And I mean, I'm just over the moon excited and happy you were here tonight. And I noticed that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I will say that every week from now on out. So, but that is basically a little tying it all together in one little video for the night. Next week, I will talk about why I decided to self-publish and a bunch of other little things coming up in next week's video. I will be back next week at 7 o'clock Eastern, 6 Central, 4 p.m. Pacific. You can catch this video and any other video that I bring on the YouTube channel, on the YouTube page. Thank you so much for always tuning in, and I cannot wait to hopefully, if I haven't met you, I hope to meet you this year. It's been a wonderful evening. Thank you so much, and I'll see you all next week.